My name is Sophia Carter. I'm 28, and from Boston. I want to tell you my story. If I'm honest, I've always believed in love the way some people believe in fairy tales. Maybe it was because I grew up surrounded by books. My father was a professor of English literature at Georgetown University. Our house was lined with shelves stacked floor to ceiling, the smell of old paper and ink so strong it clung to my clothes. As a little girl, I would sit cross-legged on the carpet while he read me Shakespeare, Dickinson, Langston Hughes, teaching me that words weren't just sentences. They were worlds. By the time I was 18, I'd started writing my own essays, journals, letters I never sent. Words were my sanctuary, the one place where I could be completely myself. But I never thought those words would be stolen. Not by him. Not by Ethan Miller. I didn't know his name the first time I saw him. I was in a small cafe on Wisconsin Avenue, grading essays from the freshman writing class I taught part-time at Georgetown. My hair was messy, tied in a bun, coffee stains on my sweater, nothing glamorous about me. But the cafe's television was tuned to a live broadcast, a charity gala downtown, filled with senators, CEOs, and polished women in gowns that cost more than my rent. And then he walked on stage. Ethan Miller. Tall. Clean-shaven. Navy suit sharp enough to cut glass. There was a stillness about him, the kind of confidence that makes a room stop breathing. He wasn't an actor, he wasn't a celebrity. He was a speechwriter, the man behind the curtain, the invisible voice of America's most powerful politicians. And yet, when he spoke, it was as if the spotlight was made for him. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, his voice low and smooth, love is the foundation of every great nation. Without it, democracy itself crumbles. Love for our country, love for one another, love in every word we speak. My pen froze mid-sentence. My coffee went cold in my hands. Because those words, every single one of them, were mine. 2 weeks earlier, in a fit of frustration, I had poured my heart onto paper. A private essay I never intended to share. In it, I wrote about how America was losing its soul because we'd forgotten how to love one another. How love, not politics, was the glue that held us together. I titled it Love in Every Word. It was my secret. My voice. My truth. And now, here it was. On national television. Leaving his lips. The cafe erupted in applause, strangers cheering for a man they believed had just spoken genius into the world. But I sat frozen, my chest tight, rage and disbelief fighting for dominance inside me. Who was this man? How did he have my essay? Why was he pretending my words were his? I snapped the newspaper from the stand the next morning. Ethan Miller, Washington's new voice of love. His picture filled the front page, confident, charismatic, untouchable. And me? I was invisible. For days, I tried to push it aside. Maybe it was coincidence. Maybe I wasn't the first person to string those words together. But when I found entire sentences, word for word, line for line, I knew. It was my writing. My soul. Stolen. And yet, here's the part that terrifies me the most. Even as anger burned in me, even as I swore I would expose him, I couldn't stop replaying his speech. The way his voice had wrapped around my sentences like they'd been meant for him all along. The way his eyes softened when he said the word love, like he actually believed it. Like he wasn't just performing, he was confessing. And against every ounce of logic, my heart whispered a dangerous truth. You're going to fall in love with this man. I told myself I wouldn't. I told myself I'd let it go, that the universe would punish him, that karma would find its way back to Ethan Miller without my help. But the truth? My anger was louder than my fear. And beneath that anger was something I refused to admit out loud, curiosity. I needed to see him. Not on a television screen. Not in the pages of a newspaper. I needed to look Ethan Miller in the eye and ask him why he thought he could steal the one thing I'd built my life around, my words. So, I did something reckless. The following Friday night, the Mayflower Hotel was hosting another gala, this time a fundraiser for an education initiative. Tickets cost more than I made in a month, but I had a friend, Lisa, who worked PR for one of the nonprofits attending. I begged. She resisted. But eventually, she slipped me a pass with a sigh. "You're playing with fire, Sophia," she warned, sliding the invitation across the table. "Then maybe it's time I got burned," I whispered. The ballroom glittered that night, chandeliers dripping crystals, champagne flutes clinking, the air thick with money and ambition. I felt out of place in my simple navy dress, my hair pulled into a neat twist. But I wasn't there to fit in. I was there to fight. And then I saw him. Ethan Miller. He was taller up close, broader, the kind of presence that makes a room tilt in his direction. He wore that same navy suit from the broadcast, perfectly tailored, his tie a sharp burgundy slash across his chest. People flocked to him, politicians slapping his back, women laughing a little too loudly at his jokes. He smiled easily, like he belonged to this world of polished power. But when his eyes swept the room and landed on me, something flickered. Confusion. Recognition. A pause that lasted just long enough for me to feel it. I didn't give him a chance to recover. I marched straight across the ballroom, my heels clicking against the marble, my heart hammering so hard I thought the whole room could hear it. "Ethan Miller?" I said, my voice sharp enough to cut through the chatter. He turned fully toward me, that practiced politician's smile tugging at his lips. "Yes. And you are." I didn't smile back. "I'm the woman whose words you stole." The air between us froze. For the first time all evening, Ethan Miller's mask slipped. His brows drew together, his smile faltered, and for a heartbeat, he looked like a man caught with blood on his hands. I think you must be mistaken," he said carefully, his voice low enough that the others nearby couldn't hear. "Mistaken?" I leaned closer, my pulse racing. "I know what I wrote. I know every sentence, every metaphor, every pause. You didn't just take my words, Mr. Miller. You took me. You stood on that stage and wore my soul like a suit." His jaw tightened. He glanced around, then gestured subtly toward a quieter corner of the ballroom. "Not here," he muttered. "Please." I should have walked away. I should have made a scene, shouted his crime to the glittering world around us. But something in his eyes, not guilt, not arrogance, but something closer to desperation, stopped me. So I followed. We slipped into a side corridor, the hum of the ballroom fading behind us. Ethan ran a hand through his hair, the smooth mask gone now, his voice rougher when he finally spoke. "Listen. I never meant to hurt anyone." "That's your defense?" I snapped. "You stole from me." His eyes searched mine, and for a moment I thought I saw shame there. But then he said something I didn't expect. "I didn't steal it, Sophia. I found it." My breath caught. "What do you mean, you found it?" He sighed, shoving his hands into his pockets. 2 weeks ago, I was at a coffee shop downtown. Someone left a notebook on the table. I picked it up, intending to turn it in, but when I opened it, I read your words. I couldn't stop. They were, he broke off, his jaw working. They were the most beautiful words I'd ever seen. I knew they could move people. I knew they could change something. And in a moment of weakness, I used them. I stared at him, my stomach twisting. My notebook. I had left it behind one morning, rushing to class. I'd cursed myself all week for losing it. You had no right, I whispered, my voice shaking. Those words weren't meant for anyone. They were mine. I know. His voice softened. And I'm sorry. I should have found you. I should have asked. But, Sophia, when I read your essay, I felt something I haven't felt in years. Hope. You gave me a voice I thought I'd lost. I wanted to hate him. I wanted to scream. But the way he said my name, like it was fragile, like it mattered, made my chest ache in ways I wasn't ready to admit. You don't get to turn my pain into your podium, I said, forcing steel into my voice. If you ever use my words again, Ethan, I swear. But I didn't finish. Because just then, he stepped closer, his eyes burning into mine with something dangerous, something unspoken. Then give me new ones, he whispered. Teach me how to use my own. His words hung between us, thick and dangerous. Teach me how to use my own. I should have walked away. I should have told him no, that a man who could stand on stage and steal what wasn't his didn't deserve my help, didn't deserve another second of my breath. But instead, I froze, because Ethan had stepped closer. Close enough that I could smell the faint mix of his cologne, cedar and spice, and the warmth of champagne on his breath. My back brushed the cool marble wall behind me, and for the first time since I confronted him, I felt cornered. Not by threat, but by something I couldn't name. Don't look at me like that, I whispered. Like what? His voice dropped lower, softer. Like you care. His lips curved, but not in a smile. In something more fragile. Because I do. I should have laughed at that. I should have reminded him that men who cared didn't steal. But when his hand lifted, hesitantly, trembling slightly, and brushed a loose strand of hair from my cheek, I didn't move. I let him. The touch was feather-light, but it burned through me. And then, before I could stop myself, I whispered, "You don't know me, Ethan." His thumb grazed my jawline, lingering. Not yet. And then. God help me. I let him lean in. His lips didn't claim mine, not fully. They hovered, brushing the edge of my cheek instead. A soft, stolen peck just beneath my ear, so tender it stole the strength from my knees. It wasn't a kiss, not really, but it was enough to shatter every wall I thought I'd built. My breath caught. My pulse betrayed me, racing like a drumbeat under my skin. I pushed at his chest, but weakly, my palms resting against the hard line of his suit jacket. This doesn't change what you did, I said, though my voice betrayed me, too soft, too unsteady. He nodded, stepping back, just slightly, enough to give me space. His eyes, though, never left mine. I don't expect forgiveness, Sophia. I only want a chance to make it right. Please. For reasons I couldn't explain, reasons that scared me more than his betrayal ever could, I believed him. The rest of the gala blurred after that. He stayed near me, never too close, but close enough that I felt his presence like a steady hum. When I finally left the ballroom, he walked me to the door. You shouldn't be out here alone, he said softly. I rolled my eyes. I can handle myself. I don't doubt that, he replied with a faint smile. And then, as the cool night air wrapped around us, he leaned down, slow enough for me to stop him if I wanted. But I didn't. His lips pressed to my forehead in a gentle kiss. Not passionate, not demanding. Just, safe. The kind of kiss that says, I see you. I respect you. I want more, but I'll wait. It was nothing. It was everything. And as I walked away into the night, my heart whispered a truth I didn't want to hear. Ethan Miller was going to ruin me. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt it again, the warmth of his lips against my forehead, the weight of his hand brushing my cheek, the way he whispered my name like it meant something. It infuriated me. He had stolen from me. Lied to the world with words that belonged to me. And yet, my body betrayed me, replaying every second of that stolen moment like a song I couldn't stop humming. I hated him. I wanted him. And the confusion made me feel like I was losing my mind. The next morning, I found an email waiting in my inbox. No subject line. Just 2 words in the body. Coffee. Please. Ethan. I should have deleted it. I should have laughed. But instead, I stared at those 2 words for almost an hour before replying with one of my own. Fine. We met that afternoon in a little cafe near DuPont Circle. Not the one where I'd first seen his speech, but another, quieter, less crowded. He was already there when I arrived, seated at a corner table, his jacket off, sleeves rolled to his elbows. For a man who lived in polished suits and power rooms, he looked almost normal. When he saw me, he stood. And before I could react, he reached for me, pulling me into a hug. It wasn't rehearsed. It wasn't careful. It was warm, strong, real. His chin brushed the top of my head, and for a second, I almost melted into him. Almost. Then I pulled back, crossing my arms. Don't think a hug erases what you did. I don't, he said quickly. I just needed you to know I'm grateful you came. I sat, refusing to smile, but my heart was already racing. We talked for hours. At first, about the obvious, my notebook, his mistake, the speech. He apologized again, this time without excuses. And when I asked him why, with all his power and talent, he'd resorted to stealing, he sighed. Because I've been empty for a long time, he admitted. I write speeches about love, hope, unity, but I don't feel any of it anymore. When I read your essay, it was like breathing again. Like someone had given me back the part of myself I thought was gone forever. His honesty disarmed me. His vulnerability scared me. At one point, he reached across the table, his fingers brushing mine. Just a graze, nothing more. But I didn't pull away. Let me earn the right to use my own words again, he said softly. Let me learn from you. And for reasons I'll never understand, I whispered, okay. That was how it began. Days blurred into nights. He started showing up, outside my class, at the library, walking me home when he didn't have to. He listened when I spoke, asked questions no one else bothered with. And little by little, my anger melted into something more dangerous, trust. One evening, after a late lecture, it started to rain. Sheets of it. I ran under the awning of the university steps, laughing as the drops soaked my hair and dress. And then he was there, jacket over his head, eyes glinting. You think this is funny, he teased. It's just water, Ethan, I said, grinning despite myself. And then, before I knew it, he grabbed my hand and pulled me into the rain. We spun, we laughed, we shouted like children. And when he caught me, his arms wrapping around my waist, his forehead pressing to mine, the world went silent. Drops slid down his face, clinging to his lashes. His breath mingled with mine, warm despite the chill. Tell me to stop, he whispered. I didn't. So he kissed me. Not like the stolen peck at the gala. Not like the soft brush of his lips against my forehead. This was full, raw, desperate. The kind of kiss that steals your breath and gives it back in pieces. My hands clutched his shirt, his arms tightened around me, pulling me closer, and for a moment, there was no past, no betrayal, no fear. Just him. Just us. When we finally broke apart, gasping, I couldn't help the shaky laugh that escaped me. "This doesn't mean I forgive you," I whispered. His forehead rested against mine, his lips brushing the edge of my mouth as he murmured, "I'm not asking for forgiveness tonight. Just another kiss." And before I could protest, he stole one. Softer this time. Sweeter. A promise, not a demand. And I let him. That night, when I finally lay in bed, soaked and breathless, I realized something terrifying. Ethan Miller wasn't just stealing my words anymore. He was stealing my heart. If Washington, D.C. was power, Chicago was ambition. The city breathed a different rhythm, fast, sharp, unforgiving. Ethan had insisted I come with him for a weekend event. "Just to see what it's like," he said. "I'll make time for us." I wanted to say no. To remind him I had papers to grade, deadlines, a life that wasn't built around gala halls and luxury hotels. But when he looked at me with those steady, pleading eyes, I said yes. And that was how I found myself stepping into a glittering hotel lobby on Michigan Avenue, my hand resting in his grip warm, protective, almost possessive. That first night, he kept his promise. We skipped the after-parties, skipped the endless champagne toasts. Instead, he led me up to the rooftop of the hotel, where the Chicago skyline glittered like spilled diamonds against the night. "It's beautiful," I whispered. He turned, not looking at the view at all. "It is," he said. But he wasn't watching the skyline. He was watching me. I blushed under his gaze, and before I could hide, he pulled me closer. His arms slid around me, my head resting against his chest as the wind whipped around us. The hug was warm, grounding, a shield against the city's chaos. "Sometimes," he murmured into my hair, "I forget all of this means nothing if I don't have someone to share it with." I tilted my head up, and he kissed me. Slow, unhurried, as if he wanted to memorize the taste of my lips under the Chicago stars. For a moment, I let myself believe we were untouchable. But reality has a way of creeping in. The next evening, at a fundraising dinner, I saw her. Vanessa. A woman who looked like she belonged in Ethan's world more than I ever could. Sleek black dress, confident smile, hand resting too easily on his arm as they spoke. I tried to ignore it, tried to focus on the conversations around me, but every laugh, every glance between them sliced deeper than I wanted to admit. Later that night, when the dinner ended, Ethan found me in the corridor. "You left early," he said, concern etched on his face. I folded my arms. "You seemed busy with Vanessa." His brows furrowed. "She's just a colleague." "Colleagues don't touch each other like that," I snapped, surprising even myself with the sharpness in my tone. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Sophia, look at me." I tried not to. I tried to hold on to my anger. But when his hands cupped my face, thumbs brushing my cheeks, I broke. "I don't care about Vanessa. I care about you." His forehead pressed to mine, breath mingling with mine. "Don't let shadows steal what we're building." I wanted to fight him, but his lips silenced me with a kiss, deep, aching, almost desperate. My anger melted into his touch, my fingers gripping his jacket as if holding on to him meant holding on to myself. When we finally pulled apart, my tears mixed with his kiss. He wiped them gently, his lips brushing the corner of my eye. "You're mine, Sophia," he whispered. "And I'm yours, if you'll have me." I didn't answer. Not with words. Instead, I leaned in, hugging him tightly, burying my face against his chest. His arms locked around me, strong and certain, as if he was afraid I'd vanish if he let go. That night, in Chicago, I realized something terrifying. It wasn't just attraction anymore. It was love. And love, I knew, was far more dangerous than stolen words. New York was louder than I remembered. Taxis blared, neon signs flashed, people moved as if time itself was chasing them. But when Ethan's hand slid into mine as we crossed Fifth Avenue, the city seemed to slow, just a little. He had brought me here not for politics or galas, but us. Or at least, that's what he promised. That first evening, he took me to a little jazz club in the village. Not the kind of place with velvet ropes and red carpets, but dim lights, a smoky stage, and a saxophone that poured out heartache. We sat in the corner, tucked away from curious eyes. Halfway through the night, when a slow song began, he stood and held out his hand. "Dance with me," he said. I laughed. "Here. People will stare. Let them." So I stood, letting him guide me into the small open space near the stage. His arms wrapped around my waist, pulling me close. My cheek rested against his chest as he swayed gently, his heartbeat steady beneath the music. "This," he whispered into my hair, "is the life I want. Not the cameras. Not the speeches. Just this." I tilted my head up, and he kissed me. Soft, unhurried, lingering, the kind of kiss that made me forget we weren't alone. The audience faded, the music blurred, and for a few precious minutes, there was only us, locked in a world of our own. Later, back at his apartment overlooking Central Park, I found myself wrapped in one of his shirts, padding barefoot across the polished floor. He watched me from the sofa, a soft smile tugging at his lips. "You look better in that than I ever did," he teased. I rolled my eyes, but when I sat beside him, he pulled me into his lap, arms circling my waist. I gasped, laughing, but his lips found the curve of my neck, pressing a trail of soft pecks that sent shivers down my spine. "Ethan," I warned, though my voice betrayed me, trembling. He pulled back just enough to meet my eyes. "What? This feels dangerous." His hand slid up my back, holding me close. "So does breathing, Sophia. But I can't stop doing that either." Before I could reply, he kissed me again, deeper this time, urgent, his hands cradling my face as if I were something fragile and irreplaceable. I kissed him back, every ounce of fear dissolving into fire. When we finally broke apart, I leaned into him, my forehead against his. His arms stayed around me, warm, secure, as though the world outside his apartment couldn't touch us. The next morning, I woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of him humming off-key in the kitchen. When I patted in, he looked up, grinning. "You're awake," he said, setting a mug in front of me. "I was going to surprise you." "You did," I murmured, hugging him from behind, my cheek pressed to his back. He chuckled, turning to press a kiss to my temple. It was domestic. Simple. Ordinary. And I had never felt so dangerously happy. But happiness, I knew, doesn't last forever. By the end of the week, Ethan's phone never seemed to stop buzzing. Meetings, interviews, campaign donors, the world clawed at him, trying to pull him back into the life he swore he didn't want. One evening, as we sat together in his apartment, his phone rang again. He sighed, glancing at the name. Vanessa. I stiffened. "Don't," I whispered. "She's just. I don't care." My voice cracked. "Every time you step into that world, I lose a little more of you. And I can't keep kissing a man who belongs everywhere else but here." Silence. Heavy. Crushing. Then Ethan set the phone down, turned to me, and pulled me into his arms with a force that nearly knocked the air from my lungs. He kissed my hair, my cheek, my lips, frantic, desperate, as if he was trying to convince me without words. "You're my world, Sophia," he murmured fiercely. "Not them. Not this city. You. Only you." I buried my face in his chest, hugging him tight, clinging to the promise in his voice. But deep down, I feared the truth. Ethan Miller belonged to too many worlds. And I wasn't sure if love alone would be enough to keep him in mine. Los Angeles was golden. Sunlight spilled across palm trees, the ocean roared in the distance, and the city shimmered like a promise. Ethan had business here, meetings, appearances, interviews, but he swore this trip would be different. "This time," he said as we landed, his fingers laced tightly with mine, "I'm not letting the city take me away from you." I wanted to believe him. The first few days felt like a dream. We drove along the Pacific Coast Highway with the windows down, music blaring, his hand resting warmly on my thigh. At the beach, he kicked off his shoes and chased me into the surf, laughing when I splashed him. When he caught me, strong arms wrapping around my waist, he spun me in circles, both of us breathless with laughter. Then, as the waves crashed at our feet, he kissed me. Sunlight kissed his hair, salt clung to his lips, and in that moment, I thought, maybe love really can be this simple. Later, as the sky turned pink with sunset, we sat on the sand, shoulders pressed together. He slipped an arm around me, pulling me against his chest. "Sometimes I wish I could stay here forever," he murmured into my hair. "Why don't you?" I asked softly. "Because forever doesn't pay for campaigns," he said with a wry smile. Then, catching my frown, he kissed it away. "But maybe I don't need campaigns if I have you." My heart fluttered, and I kissed him back, slow and lingering, the taste of salt and promises on our lips. But Los Angeles wasn't all sunsets and beaches. At a Hollywood fundraiser that weekend, I saw a different side of Ethan. The cameras loved him, the way he shook hands, the charm in his smile, the way he spoke to strangers like they were old friends. I should have been proud. But as I stood in the corner, watching Vanessa appear again at his side, laughing too easily, touching his arm too often, I felt that old jealousy claw its way back. When I finally pulled him aside, my voice trembled. "Do you even see how she looks at you?" Ethan sighed, his jaw tight. "Sophia. I'm not blind, Ethan. Every time we come here, she's around. Every time." His hands gripped my shoulders, steady but firm. "Because she's part of this world, and I can't avoid her." "But you," he leaned in, his forehead pressing against mine, voice dropping to a plea, "you're the only one who makes this world worth surviving." I wanted to believe him. I wanted his kisses, his arms around me, his whispered reassurances to erase every doubt. So when he kissed me then, deep, desperate, his lips trailing from mine to my cheek, to my jaw, to my neck, I let myself forget. We stumbled back into his hotel suite that night, laughter and kisses blurring into something hungrier, something needier. His hands held me like I was fragile, like he couldn't risk breaking me, even as his kisses grew urgent, each one a promise he couldn't put into words. When it was over, when I lay wrapped in his arms, his heartbeat steady beneath my cheek, I told myself love was enough. That it had to be. But deep down, under the Los Angeles moonlight, I wondered how many more times I could forgive the shadow of Vanessa, and the world that always seemed to claim pieces of Ethan I could never touch. Coming back to Washington felt different this time. The city's marble pillars and sharp suits didn't just represent power anymore, they represented the weight pressing down on us. Ethan was no longer just the man who kissed me under the rain or held me on rooftops. He was the man the papers called the rising star, the one TV anchor speculated about every night. And being next to him meant stepping into a spotlight I never asked for. It started small, whispers in the university halls. Professors asking how I knew him. Students giving me looks I couldn't quite name. Then came the photographs in glossy magazines, Ethan stepping out of cars, Ethan shaking hands, Ethan smiling, always with Vanessa nearby. One afternoon, I stormed into his office. He was on the phone, pacing, sleeves rolled up, looking like the man I loved and the stranger I feared all at once. "Can you hang up?" I snapped. He froze, then ended the call without a word. "Sophia?" I tossed the magazine onto his desk. A full-page spread. Ethan and Vanessa, side by side, smiling like a couple. "They're calling her your partner, Ethan." My voice cracked. He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. "It's politics. Optics. She's a safe face for them to print. And what am I? A mistake you kiss in the dark?" That hit him. His eyes softened, his voice dropping. "No. God, no. You're the only thing that feels real in all of this." I wanted to believe him, but doubt coiled inside me. He crossed the space between us, hands finding my waist, pulling me close. "Sophia, please. Don't let the world tell our story. Only we can do that." His lips found mine, not gentle this time, but fierce, desperate. He kissed me like a man drowning, like I was the only air he had left. My hands trembled, but I clutched him back, kissing him with all the anger, all the love, all the fear tangled inside me. When we finally broke apart, breathless, he pressed his forehead to mine. "Stay," he whispered. "Stay with me tonight." That night, I did. We lay tangled in his sheets, his arms wrapped tightly around me, as though letting go would mean losing me forever. He kissed my shoulder, my hair, the corner of my mouth, tender, reverent, almost worshipful. And for a moment, in that cocoon of warmth, I believed love could silence the world outside. But the world didn't stay silent for long. The next morning, headlines screamed louder than ever, "Ethan Miller's secret love affair?" My name wasn't printed. Not yet. But the photographs were clear. A grainy shot of us leaving the jazz club in New York, his hand on my waist, his lips near my temple. Another of us laughing together on the beach in Los Angeles. Panic gripped me. What happens when they do know my name? I whispered, holding the paper in trembling hands. Ethan pulled me into a hug, kissing my temple softly. "Then I'll stand beside you. I'll fight for us." But deep down, as I buried my face against his chest, I wondered if love could survive a city built on secrets. I needed space. The headlines were everywhere, and DC felt suffocating. So I ran, to Boston, to a quiet inn near the harbor. I didn't expect him to follow. But Ethan showed up 2 days later, standing in the rain outside my door, soaked and breathless. "Sophia," he said, voice breaking, "don't push me away. I can't lose you." Tears blurred my eyes as he stepped inside, wrapping me in a desperate hug. His lips brushed my forehead, then my cheek, then finally my mouth, soft, trembling, as if he was terrified I'd vanish. "I don't care about the world," he whispered against my lips. "I care about us." And that night, in the quiet of the inn, we kissed until every doubt faded. Miami was supposed to be escape, sun, ocean, new beginnings. But fame follows fast. Paparazzi caught us on the beach, my hand in his kiss pressed to my shoulder. The world now knew my name. That night, shaken, I tried to pull away. Maybe love isn't enough, Ethan. Maybe we're too different. But he kissed me hard, silencing my fears, his arms locking me in place. No, Sophia. Love is the only thing that is enough. And for once, I let myself believe it. The Golden Gate stretched in the distance as we argued in our hotel room. Too many calls, too many headlines, too much Vanessa. You promised me, I shouted. I'm trying, he snapped back. The silence after was brutal. Then, quietly, he walked over, pulled me into a tight hug, and kissed my tears away. I'm lost without you, he whispered. And though I hated it, I melted into his arms. In Philadelphia, he took me to the Liberty Bell at night. No cameras, no crowds, just us. He held both my hands, eyes steady. I stole your words once. But this, he pressed a kiss to my palms, then my lips, this love is mine. Ours. And I'll never let anyone steal it. For the first time, I believed him completely. Back in New York, under the same skyline where it all began, he made his final stand. At a press conference, with Vanessa in the crowd and cameras everywhere, Ethan spoke. This is Sophia, he said, pulling me onto the stage. His hand squeezed mine, his lips brushing my temple. She is the woman I love. She is my truth. The room erupted. But I didn't care. Because he turned, kissed me, deeply, publicly, irrevocably, and the world disappeared. That night, on a balcony overlooking the city lights, he held me close. No more stolen words, he murmured, kissing me once more. Only love. Every word, every breath, every kiss. And I knew, at last, that this was forever.